Okay, I'm going to go through some stuff. Some of it is going to upset you. Let's just be real upfront about that. I have the hot sheets from OIG of the SSA, Inspector General's office, about some individuals who are benefit recipients, whether they were legally supposed to be or not, who have committed some felonies up in here. And as a result, I'm going to tell you their stories. They're kind, benevolent, wonderful, honest, ethical, honorable. I mean, not those things. But the point is, we're going to go through them. At the beginning of these videos, I always have to do a disclaimer, a waiver, if you will. Princess Diana! Howdy, howdy. Royalties back. $5 donation. Let me do a big heart there. Thank you for the donation. That's absolutely amazing. So here's the kicker. These individuals, a lot of people believe that fraud is not going on with the SSA because that was kind of the push that was going on during the Democrat-based ownership of the White House, and it's rampant. It's rampant, and all kinds of stuff, not just social security numbers, fake IDs, voting problems. It's rampant. And as they find more stuff and they begin prosecuting it, I always look to see who is the bad person and when were they doing it. Were they doing it during the Biden administration? Were they doing it during the prior Trump administration? Were they doing it during the Obama administration, etc.? And you will see them doing it just the same during the prior Trump administration, just the same as they were doing it during the Biden administration. So there's fraud in all of these governments, no matter who's in the Oval Office at that time. All right, let's get into it. First one, Colombian national charged with voter fraud, federal benefit fraud, and identity theft offenses. So in other words, a real sweetheart, a wonderful individual, a person who has in many ways broken the base foundations of what our country is based on. Let's get into it real quick. Okay. Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, defendant alleged to have voted in the 2024 presidential election, lived under a stolen identity for more than 20 years, obtained a real ID, and improperly received more than $400,000 in stolen federal benefits. This happened in Boston. A Colombian woman unlawfully residing in Boston has been indicted by a federal grand jury for identity theft offenses. Now remember, every time you have identity theft offenses, that's a Social Security offense because somebody is abusing the account of somebody else. Somebody's receiving the benefit of a Social Security number of some other individual. So this is a Social Security violation, even though it might not be in the codex as to how they're punished and what they're punished under as that, including receiving rental assistance, Social Security, and SNAP benefits, as well as voter fraud under the stolen identity. The defendant also allegedly applied for a United States passport and obtained a Massachusetts real ID and 8 other state IDs. In other words, they're a professional criminal. Lina Maria Orovio Hernandez. Sounds like a, individual that was Spanish but almost Russian. Has that like ting to it. 59 was charged in a superseding indictment with 1 count of false representation of a Social Security number, 1 count of making a false statement in an application for a United States passport, and 1 count of aggravated identity theft. 3 counts of receiving stolen government money or property, 1 count of fraudulent voter registration, and 1 count of fraudulent voting. Orovio Hernandez was previously charged in an indictment in February of 2025 and has remained in federal custody since then. So like when they say our voting system is perfect and there's no problems, you could, I'm sure, understand that you should believe them 100%, as your iPhone asks you to update it because there's a breach. According to court filings, Orovio Hernandez, a Colombian national without lawful status in the United States, has lived under the stolen identity for more than 20 years. So she's been voting for a while. Okay. Using this stolen identity, Orovio Hernandez allegedly obtained 9 state IDs, including a Massachusetts real ID, and applied for a U.S. passport. Orovio Hernandez allegedly used the stolen identity to submit a fraudulent voter registration in January of 2023 and cast a fraudulent ballot in the November of 2024 presidential election. That's the only one that they caught her for. Hey, She has 9 other IDs. It is further alleged that Oravio Hernandez improperly received approximately $400,000 in federal benefits, $259,589 in Section 8 rental assistance benefits from October 2011 through January 2025, $101,257 in Social Security disability benefits from July 2014 through January 2025, and $43,348 in supplemental nutrition assistance program benefits from April 2005 through January 2025. In other words, she cheated with voting, she cheated with Social Security numbers, she cheated with Social Security benefits, she cheated with the disability system, and she cheated with the housing system. So in other words, we got a bad person here. Not a good person. The charge, so hold on, here it is. Okay, so they even have surveillance footage from a Citizen Bank ATM in Jamaica Plain, I think that's New York, allegedly showing Oravio Hernandez wearing an I voted sticker on November 5th, 2024. Everything's perfect. Voting system's amazing. Yeah, I'm sure it is. All right. Let's go through the quote. We don't, it is what it is. Quote, the diplomatic security service is committed to protecting yada, yada, yada. Quote, stealing someone's identity to unlawfully obtain Social Security benefits is not just theft, it's the long-term abuse of a system, yada, yada, yada. Quote, for more than 20 years, this defendant is alleged to have built an entire life on the foundation of a stolen identity, yada, yada, yada. Oravio Hernandez allegedly spent 2 decades living under a stolen identity while simultaneously orchestrating a sophisticated multi-agency fraud scheme, misappropriating over $400,000 federal benefits, yada, yada, yada. The charge of false representation of a Social Security number provides for a sentence of up to 5 years of in prison, which I think it should be higher. I think that's like a major, when you steal somebody's Social Security, number and you falsely represent yourself as that person, I think that should be more than 5 years. 3 years of supervised release and a fine of $250,000. The charge of making a false statement in an application for a United States passport provides for a sentence of up to 10 years in prison, which, to be honest with you, I think the first one is more severe. You steal somebody's identity, like that should be more severe than a passport. 10 years for the passport, 3 years of supervised release, fine $250,000. The charge of aggravated identity theft provides for a mandatory 2-year sentence to run consecutively to any other sentence imposed. 1 year of supervised release and fine $250,000. The charges of receiving stolen government or property provide for a sentence of up to 10 years, 3 years supervised, $250,000, or twice the gross gain or loss, whichever is greater. The charges of fraudulent representation and fraudulent voting, okay, each provide for a sentence of up to 5 years in prison, which honestly, guys, that should be 10 years. That should be 10 years. 3 years of supervised, $250,000 fine. Defendant is subject to deportation upon completion of any sentence imposed. Sentences are imposed by a federal district court judge based upon the U.S. sentencing guidelines and statutes which govern the determination of a sentence in a criminal case. We want to know what's probably going to happen. She, if Trump doesn't get in again, Democrats get somebody in, which happens. It flips-flops back and forth. She'll probably get pardoned. You know what I mean? She'll probably get pardoned. U.S. Attorney Full, I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying, this sort of thing like this, we don't know how many times she's voted. We don't. And we don't know who she voted for. We don't. But there's a high likelihood that she voted a certain way. Not that that party doesn't deserve votes. They're highly innovative. We need them. The Republicans can't survive without them because we need the innovation coming from Democrats. But, she's not very likely to be voting for Republicans based upon, essentially the fact that she stole a bunch of this, stole a bunch of that. Not that Republicans are better in that regard. There's tons of crime on the Republican side. But when it comes to essentially the types of crime that were committed, it is not what I would usually see Republicans doing. Republicans are usually doing different types of crimes. I'll do a video on that too. People will hate me for it, but I'll do a video on that because Republicans usually aren't doing Social Security crime. unless it's like mass hacking and they're trying to get lots of stuff from multiple computers, But in this case, from what I'm seeing, this is probably one of these, because remember too, I've represented people who have turned out to be not the person they claim to be. And so there's a certain, I've gotten used to looking at certain statistics and facts and, okay, what is this? And I realize, okay, if they're going for this, if they're shooting for that. And the worst one is the veteran pool. Like, veterans will move to a different country and seek SSDI benefits. They'll get a girlfriend that loves them, right? And then they'll disappear. Okay. So, that stuff happens. U.S. Attorney Foley, DSS, SAC O'Brien, SSA OIG, SAC Connolly, HUD OIG, SAC Rice, Jamaica Parker, Special Agent in charge of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Office of Inspector General, Office of Investigations, Northeast Regional, made an announcement. Details contained in the charging documents are allegations. The defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. Yeah, usually the Republicans will do like tax evasion. That's the thing. Democrats will get access to the benefits. Republicans will make money and then not want to pay taxes. Those are like the main separation factors. All right, let's check this next one. Remy said Trump will pardon her. I supremely doubt it. Trump pardoned who I didn't expect, but I don't know their whole backstory. Were those two celebrities? I forget what their names are. They were just on the TV, but I didn't expect that he was going to pardon them. But again, he did. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, when you're president, you have the power to pardon. You can't pardon them from civil infractions, but criminal you can. Next one, May 22nd, 2025. Gloucester County man pleads guilty to tax fraud scheme and theft of elderly victims' bank account funds. This one might be Republican. This one. Newark, New Jersey. A New Jersey man pled guilty to fraudulently seeking more than 1.4. Oh, geez. New Jersey man pled guilty to fraudulently seeking more than $1.4 million from the IRS by filing false tax returns claiming COVID-19 related employment tax credits. Could go either way. For laundering the proceeds from that scheme and for stealing more than $180,000 from an elderly customer at the car dealership where he worked, U.S. Attorney Alina Habba announced. I'm amazed at how these people do this stuff. Like, it just blows my mind how they could steal that much from an individual, like an elderly customer. James J. And then, $180,000. I mean, he should have noticed the money was not there, And I'm sure part of it might have been the tip off. James J. Mastro Giovanni, 44 of Washington Township, pled guilty to an information charging him with 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, 1 count of mail fraud, 1 count of money laundering, and 1 count of access device fraud. Sentencing is scheduled for November 6, 2025. During the pandemic, Mastro Giovanni engaged in a scheme with Leon Haynes, a tax preparer, to exploit COVID-19 relief programs to line his own pockets. Sweet person here. From in or around March 2021 through in or around December 2022, Mastro Giovanni and Haynes prepared and filed with the IRS false and fraudulent forms 941 on behalf of Mastro Giovanni, his family members, and others, claiming tax refunds intended to help struggling small businesses by reducing employment taxes owed. All the forms 941 prepared in furtherance of the scheme were false and fraudulent because they listed employees and wages that, in fact, did not actually exist. Neither Mastro Giovanni nor any of his family members owned or operated a business. So the only business they've done well is fraud, let alone had paid employees. Mastro Giovanni claimed at least $1,443,409 in tax credits. And as a result of the scheme, the U.S. Treasury dispersed at least $545,692 to Mastro Giovanni and his family members. That just blows my mind. They gave, just so you guys are aware, when I took out a loan from the federal government for COVID, they gave me $25,000. That's what they gave me for payroll when COVID hit and was bad. This guy got $1.4 million in tax credits and $545,692 in U.S. Treasury dispersed funds. God damn. You know what I mean? It's like, come on now. Like, how the hell? You know what I mean? Like, how the hell? Jesus. Man. You know what my problem is? I do my payroll through ADP. I got to stop doing that. It's profitable otherwise. There's other ways to make money. That's what it is. Haynes has been charged separately in a 63-count indictment. 63 count. He's competing with Trump for allegedly preparing and submitting more than 16,000 false employment tax returns on behalf of himself and clients totaling more than $150 million. 1,600 false employment tax returns. Damn. He also allegedly defrauded some of his own clients by using their identities to submit these applications without their permission or knowledge. Trial is scheduled to begin on September 25th, 2025. In that matter, the charges and allegations against Haynes are merely accusations, and he's presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. Yeah, but they got him. You know, they got some stuff on him. From on or about June 19th, 2023 through on or about December 7th, 2023, Master Giovanni engaged in a separate scheme to steal more than $180,000 from an 85-year-old victim. The victim presented a check to Master Giovanni to purchase a vehicle at the car dealership where Master Giovanni worked. Master Giovanni later used the routing and checking account numbers on the check to make unauthorized personal transactions from the account until the account was empty. That's probably how he got caught. I don't know, but that's probably how he got it. The count of conspiracy to defraud the United States carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison, $250K for a fine. Mail fraud. See, now mail fraud is interesting. Maximum penalty is 20 years in prison, $250K fine. Money laundering and access device fraud counts each carry a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison, $250K fine. But that mail fraud gets you 20 potential years, which I think is interesting. I think if you steal somebody's social security, like their account, their personage, I think that it should be like a 20-year thing. You know what I mean? You just stole somebody's life. That's not okay. U.S. Attorney Haba, credited special agent of the IRS, worked with these deals. They go through all the people that helped with it, so on and so forth. The government is represented by Assistant U.S. Attorney Matthew Stark, Fatima Mika Kano of the Economic Crimes Unit in New York, the District of New Jersey COVID-19 Fraud Enforcement Strike Force is one of the 5 strike forces established that work on this. Anyone with information about allegations should reach them, yada, yada, yada. All right, so that guy honestly has a talent for creating fraudulent documents. I mean, if it were me, I'd put him in jail for a couple of years, and then I would bring him out and force him to work at like one of these FBI investigation units, because to do that much fraud with that much fake documentation, honestly, that's impressive. Honestly, that's impressive. I just think it's impressive. Okay. All right, here we go. Next one. Illegal alien arrested for impersonating U.S. citizen for over 9 years. Again, that is a Social Security violation when you steal somebody's person, somebody's existence through the Social Security Administration. Houston, 39-year-old Colombian national, illegally. Colombians are hot right now. Let me tell you, when they're committing fraud, they are present. They're doing some fraud. A 39-year-old Colombian national illegally residing in Houston has been charged for theft and government funds, false representations of a U.S. citizen, and aggravated identity theft, announced U.S. Attorney Nicholas J. Ganjay. Javier Alfonso Nunez Suarez is set to make his initial appearance before U.S. Magistrate Judge Yvonne Ho at 2 p.m. The now unsealed indictment, returned May 15th, alleges Suarez fraudulently applied for and obtained Social Security Administration disability benefits in February of 2016 by impersonating a U.S. citizen. Suarez then allegedly qualified for Medicaid benefits. Man, these guys, they know how to get those bennies, let me tell you. They don't have to work for them. They just got to work. I guess they do have to work for them because they have to create all this fraudulent stuff. According to the charges, Suarez continued receiving both SSA disability and Medicaid benefits until his arrest, resulting in total theft of government funds exceeding $588,000. If convicted, Suarez faces up to 10 years of imprisonment, as well as a possible $250,000 maximum fine for each of the charges. He also faces an additional 2 years in prison for aggravated identity theft, which must be served consecutively to any other prison term imposed. SSA Office of the Inspector General conducted the investigation. Assistant U.S. Attorney Karen M. Lansden is prosecuting the case. Bottom line is, illegal alien arrested for impersonating somebody. for 9 years. Got disability benefits, got Medicaid. Holy cannoli, you know what I mean? We got one more for you. Lawrence Mann, straight from OIG. Lawrence Mann, sentenced to 15 months in prison for COVID relief fraud and Social Security fraud. Defendant stole benefits for 22 years. 22 years. All right, here we go. Lawrence Mann was sentenced today in federal court in Boston for fraudulently obtaining and misusing COVID-19 relief funds and stealing Social Security benefits totaling over $200,000. Randolph Dominguez, 58, was sentenced by U.S. District Court Judge Patty B. Saris to 15 months in prison, to be followed by 3 years of supervised release. Dominguez was also ordered to pay $274,119 in restitution. In January of 2025, Dominguez pled guilty to 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of theft of government money. Okay. In June 2020, Dominguez submitted a loan application on behalf of an interpreter business he owned and operated. Dominguez SP interpreters to the Small Business Administration under the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, which provided loans to small businesses that suffered substantial economic injury due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Dominguez fraudulently obtained approximately $90,000 in EIDL funds from the SBA from June 2020 through July 2021, when he claimed falsely an EIDL application that his gross business revenue was $600,000 from the previous year, when it was only $16,989. I got to be honest, an interpreter business that makes $600,000, like that's some money. That's some. I mean, I don't know. I don't know a lot of interpreter businesses that hit that hard. You know what I mean? I don't know. Sunny D, but doop. Thank you for the $5 donation. That's absolutely amazing. Absolutely love it. That's great. That's my favorite name on the channel. Out of everybody that's on the channel watching the news, it's my favorite name to go with it. All right, next one here. Let's keep rocking and rolling. So basically, further, Dominguez improperly spent all of the EIDL funds receiving in non-business expenses, including $16,192.22 to purchase an SUV and several purchases at smoke shops, liquor stores, gun ranges, an adult bookstore, and website. There you go. If you're going to do it wrong, those are acceptable methods of doing it wrong. In addition, in May 2021, Dominguez applied for an additional $200,600 EIDL loan modification increase based on the false business revenue amount, which was rejected when SBA detected his fraud. Similarly, in June of 2021, Dominguez obtained $3,500 Paycheck Protection Program loan, which was another temporary loan program intended to provide relief for small businesses impacted by COVID-19 pandemic, so that they could retain employees and cover overhead. Dominguez also spent the PPP loan for an improper business purpose, all in all, vacation in Cancun and Mexico. This man knows how to cheat and relax while doing it. Separately, from April 2001 through April 2023, Dominguez stole approximately $163,642 in Social Security benefits. Dominguez's father was receiving Social Security benefits at the time of his death in March 2001. His death was never reported to the Social Security Administration. Oof. Instead, the deceased's address was changed in 2006 to Dominguez's residence, and the agency continued to pay monthly benefits on his behalf. Dominguez used his deceased father's debit card to withdraw the improperly paid benefits at ATMs and to make purchases more than 22 years after his death. I don't know. At some point, like, come on, SSA, 22 years, the guy passed away. Like, he wasn't using his Medicare. He wasn't even probably paying for it, you know? Leanne with the $10 donation. Thank you so much for the $10 donation and the praying for Shadow for a quick healing and quick recovery. He's right now on a big bed right over there. He's in the kitchen, and basically he's just snoring. I can actually hear him from here. I got him a new bed for, his post-surgery. It's one of those like big poofy ones that are in like a circle. He hasn't taken to it yet. He likes to sniff it, but he hasn't taken to it yet. So I'm really hoping that the total hip replacement goes extremely well, because I've been a nervous wreck. I've gained like 10 pounds over this. I've been very, 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 like, I've been saving for this, making sure I do everything right for this. I have just been like, you know what I mean? Like, in that state. Finally, Dominguez claimed as deceased father. Again, thank you, Leanne. Leanne has actually been with us longer than anybody else that I know on the channel. She was with us when I had 100 subscribers. So like 240,000 something subscribers ago. She was with us when I was literally making videos in my Prius, driving to all the different homeless offices to work with the homeless. So she was with us way, way back in the beginning when literally I had a microphone mounted to the side of my seat in the car so I could talk into it and do videos. Finally, Dominguez claimed his deceased father is dependent on his 2019 federal and state income tax returns to fraudulently obtain tax credits. As a special condition of the term of supervised release, Dominguez was ordered to work with the Internal Revenue Service to correct all inaccurate tax returns. I'm sure he did so much fraud, they got to go back and figure it out. United States Attorney Leah B. Foley and Amy Connolly, Special Agent in charge of the Social Security Administration, Office of the Inspector General, Office of Investigations, Boston Field Division, made the announcement. Bottom line is, they got them. Now, there are additional ones that we are going to be going through tomorrow. And I want you to know these are important because a lot of people believe that it wasn't real, that these things weren't happening, that there was not this rampant fraud. It is rampant. Not only do they have people in real positions doing bad things, they have people who are illegal immigrants doing bad things. They have people who work inside the SSA that are doing bad things. So OIG is working. So if you're saying oh, Doge had to come and fix it all, yeah, they did some stuff, but OIG, the Office of Inspector General, they were doing their job all along. It's not like they were just, I get it doesn't look good when they have somebody for 20 years that was receiving benefit, 22 or whatever it was. Well, hold on. What was it real quick? The deceased father, yeah. So he was making withdrawals from the deceased father's account of his retirement benefits for 22 years. That doesn't look good for OIG, especially considering Doge came in and was like, how old is he? How much has he used his Medicaid? How often has he used his Medicare? Yada, yada. But still, they're doing their thing. So anyways, I will catch you all a little bit later, but please remember to hit that like button. If you don't hit the like button, people won't see this video. They won't enjoy it. Okay, so like and subscribe. Head over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw some stars up there if you want. Totally up to you. I love waking up and seeing them. I will catch you tomorrow. Please remember that I go live on Mondays and Thursdays to answer questions and do more videos. And if you need a private consultation, there is a mini contract below to go ahead and hire me to do a 1 hour with you to go over whatever legal situation you have with Social Security disability benefits. I will catch you all tomorrow. You have an amazing, amazing, and wonderful night. Thank you so much. Attorney Walter Hnot. Bye-bye.